How is it going, everybody? My name is Snazzy Patty, and if you've watched my videos before, I've been gone for a little bit, but about a month or whatever. If this is your first video, what's up? I'm Snazzy Patty. We do commentary, reaction videos, deep dives, tier lists, all that. We're working on it. Anyways, without further ado, I will explain where I've been in another video. Don't worry, that'll probably be in the next video, a little update in the intro. Alright, you can always skip that, just whatever. I'm a bit rusty, so excuse the shitty sounding intro. But without further ado, man, we are checking out this video by Alex Bale. This video is called The Diary of a Wimpy Kid Theory, man. I read almost all the books, I'm pretty sure, if not all the books growing up in school, so I'm definitely wondering where this is gonna go, man. Alex Bale always got these weird conspiracies, so let's see. As always, though, the link to the original video down in the description below. Please check him out, show your support. We go ahead and lock in.
There is a single page in the first Diary of a Wimpy Kid book that, at first glance, seems completely normal. But there's something on this page that, once you see it, will forever change the way you look at these books. There's a genuinely unnerving implication here that I don't think anyone has ever talked about before today.
What's that smell?
I knew that door had a lock on it!
I think he said you're going to have an accident.
Zooey Mama. Hi there. Diary of a Wimpy Kid is a classic children's book series about a narcissistic kid named Greg Heffley who believes one day he'll be famous.
Even as a kid reading the book, I knew he was not, like, the good guy, or whatever you want to call it. Also, real quick, this movie, though, amazing. This movie was great. The casting, amazing.
I agreed to write in this thing is because when I'm rich and famous, I'll have better things to do than answer people's stupid questions all day long.
But until then, he's stuck in middle school dealing with his crazy family and the weird kids at school.
Wanna see my secret freckle?
This theory is not going to be about Fregley, by the way. I don't think I'm capable of figuring out what's going on with him. They've gone on to make
That guy's just a nutcase, honestly.
20 books, 4 Rowley spin-offs, and 7 movie adaptations.
Okay, I definitely have not read all of this, and definitely have not watched all of them. The last one I saw was Dog Days. I did not watch the one where they recasted everybody and stuff like that. I just kicked my light. But yo, real quick, what was your favorite book, though? Seriously, like, I think I read up until either Old School or Long Haul was the last one I read. And I never read any of the Rowley books.
And there are no signs of them ever slowing down. And the weird thing about this is that not only do these books get a lot more cartoony and unrealistic as they go along, but by book 20, Greg is still in middle school. He never ages. And look, I know this is a thing that happens in a lot of different media about kids in school, but the thing that's interesting about Diary of a Wimpy Kid is that the books themselves are constantly acknowledging it. But for now, I'm stuck in—
Wait, really? I've never noticed that. I'm not gonna lie, my prediction for this theory, right, going into this was gonna be about, you know, something dark within Greg Heffley, about, like, him being crazy, narcissistic, maybe even, like, you know, a serial unaliver, whatever. But this one, I didn't expect it to go this direction. Holy stutter.
middle school with a bunch of morons. To be honest with you, I feel like I've been stuck in middle school forever. I looked in the mirror, but everything looked exactly the same as it always does.
You got kids like me who haven't hit their growth spurt yet, mixed in with gorillas who have to shave twice a day.
From the start, these diaries have been drawing attention to the fact that Greg doesn't age, which makes me feel like there might be some kind of in-universe explanation for it. And look, I promise this is not gonna be another edgy, oh, Greg is actually dead theory. No, I think there's actually a much simpler explanation. These books are not the objective truth. They are diaries written by an egotistical sociopath who is constantly lying to make himself look better.
Yeah, we know that. Not in, like, a dickhead kind of way, we know that, but, like, you see it in the movie that, because in the movie, you get to see other people's perspectives, I guess. Even though it's still from Greg's perspective, you see better how it interacts with people in real time, like, you know, how it affects Rowley, or how he treats his family, and stuff like that. So it shows you that side, versus the books, you really only get Greg's side, and he is an unreliable narrator.
Greg is the definition of an unreliable narrator. So, for all we know, Greg is aging normally, but for whatever reason, he's just choosing to lie about it in his diaries. That's the most logical in-universe explanation.
But why?
Or that's at least what I thought, until I found a very strange detail on page 122 of the first Diary of a Wimpy Kid book. a page that forever changed the way that I look at these diaries. On this page, Greg talks about giving his parents the same gifts for Christmas every year. I gave mom and dad their gifts. I get them the same kind of thing every year, but parents eat that stuff up. And then we see a drawing of Greg giving his parents their gifts. Do you see anything wrong with this?
Number one mom, number one dad, thanks. I don't, but the eerie music's tripping me out right now, I'm not gonna lie.
Look very closely. Greg believes that his parents eat that stuff up, but in the drawing, his parents are clearly unhappy with their gifts. The drawing contradicts Greg's opinion, which means Greg couldn't have written this page. Wait a second, is Greg not the author of his diaries?
What? Hold on, where are we going with this?
Okay, so obviously I know that Jeff Kinney is the real author of these books, and all of this is just fictional. But I'm saying, in the universe of Diary of a Wimpy Kid, what if someone else is writing these diaries pretending to be Greg? Have you ever noticed how the diaries are constantly cutting to other perspectives when Greg isn't around? We've kind of just had to assume that Greg either heard about these things after the fact, or maybe he was just exaggerating, but sometimes they really feel like they're telling us things that...
Sorry about that random cut. I've had to move my stuff around and I did not have the camera on the right spot, and I just realized I've been looking like I've been staring at you guys this whole time instead of watching my video, so the camera was in the way. Anyways, I fixed it. Let's get back to the video. Lock in, guys.
Greg wouldn't know. Mom likes to rent these romantic comedies, and she makes Dad watch them with her, but I know Dad is just waiting for the first chance to break away and go back down to the basement. How does Greg know this? I mean, who else but Frank would know what he was secretly thinking about in this moment? This doesn't feel like something he would tell his son about later.
But like, and I know this is boring thinking here, right? Couldn't the simple explanation be that he's just taking creative liberties and assuming what his dad's thinking or whatever, because he knows his father?
In fact, these books are full of moments like this that feel like they're specifically from Greg's dad's perspective. Greg even claims at the start of Third Wheel that he can remember things from when he was in his mother's womb, and the things he remembers do feel kinda accurate, but wouldn't it make way more sense if these were actually Frank's memories from when his wife was pregnant? What if Frank is the real author of the diaries? What if these are books that Frank is writing based on his son's life for some unknown reason? And it's okay if you're not fully on board yet, because I didn't really take this seriously either, until I found something insane. At the start of Dog Days, we are told that there is a newspaper comic called Lil Cutie that Frank and Greg read together every day. And we find out that Lil Cutie is a comic series that was written by a father based on his son.
That's okay. I see where the dots are connected now. Okay.
Look at these two drawings on the same page. You can't tell me they aren't trying to frame Frank and Greg in the exact same way as the Lil Cutie author and his son. And that...
Yeah, no, I'm seeing... I mean, it makes sense because, like, I don't know, something's like... It just... His father, specifically from the movies, gives that vibe that he would want to do this.
That's not even the craziest part, because on the very next page it says, I guess now that the real Little Cutie is all grown up, his dad's having trouble coming up with new material. His dad's having trouble coming up with new material. Is this not exactly what we've been talking about this whole time? The diaries get cartoonier and Greg never ages because now that his son is grown up, Frank is out of new material and he's forced to just make stuff up. We even find out in Old School that Frank had a very similar childhood to Greg. He also had a best friend like Rowley, a dog, and two brothers that annoyed him. So maybe some of Greg's middle school stories are actually based on Frank's childhood memories.
Greg, we're a lot alike.
Everything here fits perfectly. Now, if you...
This is making way too much sense, though, honestly. Like, the more I'm thinking about it, I could sit here and, like, explain my thought process, but we're literally watching the video explaining it to us, so that's redundant. But, wow, this is, like, blowing my mind.
still don't believe me, then I have one final question for you. A question that's been right in front of our faces this entire time, but we never thought to ask it before now. Why are these books called Diary of a Wimpy Kid?
Yeah, why would Greg, as a notorious narcissistic, unreliable, why would he call his own book about himself, or when he's rich and famous, why would he call himself a wimpy kid? But we do know his father thinks he's a little bit of a wimp.
Why would Greg, someone who is consistently shown as narcissistic and egotistical, ever refer to himself as wimpy?
I swear I didn't pre-watch this, but it's just, it's common sense. Like, it's making sense. Like, you know what I mean? I could see it coming. Like, I could see the conspiracy forming in front of my eyes as he's talking about this.
Greg has an extremely high opinion of himself. That's like his main thing. But you know who does think Greg is wimpy? His dad.
Dad was pretty mad at me for letting myself get bullied by a kid who was still in kindergarten. When Dad saw it, he said it was a girl bike and I should get rid of it. Dad said there was no way he was getting me a dollhouse.
So yes, I believe for whatever reason, Greg's dad decided to write the Diary of a Wimpy Kid books. And just like with Little Cutie, it ended up becoming a huge financial success, leading to a whole series of books and even a handful of movies.
I always figured they'd make a movie about my life, but I didn't think they'd start the story here.
I always figured they'd make a movie about my life. This line implies that these are in-universe movies based on the diaries, and Greg did actually become famous like he.
And that's just like, oh my god, it's like in-universe, in the movie universe. He's rich and famous. That's not actually Greg we're watching. That's not really. These are people that his family or Rowley or Greg or Hollywood casted to play. Yo, that's the fourth wall break.
Always wanted, but what if it's because his father decided to create a best-selling book series about his life? And that is my Diary of a Wimpy Kid theory. Case closed.
Well, hold on, we got a lot more of this video.
Yep, I'm pretty sure we wrapped up everything.
But wait.
I know I always say that, and then there's like a big surprise plot twist in these videos, but like, this time we're done for sure. I mean, you can just leave.
We got about, what, 16 minutes left in this
We're all
video?
done. Don't look at the runtime of this video. Okay, so I genuinely wanted to end the theory here and be done with it, but there's a scene in the first Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie that I can't stop thinking about. I don't even want to show it because I promised I wasn't gonna do this, but just take a look for yourself.
Okay.
He had to eat his lunch on the floor.
I was right. You're not even gonna make it out of there alive. The only chance you have making the yearbook is when they dedicate it to your memory.
The only chance you'll have of making the yearbook is if they dedicate it to your memory.
Where are we going
Wait a
with this one?
Could that be what these movies are? Did Frank write these diaries because
Is he doing it as a way to cope? How would he have died?
Greg is dead?
Are we? Wait, no, he said we weren't doing this. We said we weren't doing a Greg is dead theory. Hold on.
Oh, what the fuck? I know, I promised I wasn't gonna do another they were dead the whole time theory, but I swear, this is not your usual edgy run-of-the-mill Greg's in purgatory theory. There's something to this. And I know people have already suggested this before, but what I have never seen anyone talk about is the fact that there are so many moments in these movies that talk about Greg like he is dead or going to die.
You'll be dead or homeschooled by the end of the year anyway. You're not even gonna make it out of there alive.
He will kill you. Literally kill you.
You're dead.
Move over. I'm dying. He'll kill me. You're killing me. You know that?
You guys are dead.
Why don't kill me if she knows we're here?
You're so freaking dead.
I'll die.
Oh, this is like turning into some weird twist. Oh, this is messing with my head. Alex Bale, what are you doing to me, G?
You can't call if you're dead.
You can kill me.
She's gonna kill both of us.
We're dead.
Mom would kill us. You are so dead.
Greg, you are so dead.
Goodbye, Gregory. You will always be remembered.
When they dedicate it to your memory.
Like, I'm not crazy, right? That's a weird amount of references to Greg's death.
That
Remember, these
is.
are the same movies that decided to unambiguously tell us that Greg is famous enough to get a movie made about him.
I always figured they'd make a movie about my life.
Maybe they're also telling us the reason why, and these are just actors portraying someone who tragically passed away. And it's not just the movies either. In Dog Days, when Greg is talking about reading in school, he says this very interesting line.
I'm not really sure what makes a book a classic to begin with, but I think it has to be at least 50 years old, and some person or animal has to die at the end.
And then later on, when he has to read Charlotte's Web, he says,
Just from looking at the cover, I guarantee either the girl or the pig doesn't make it to the end of the book.
That's pretty dark.
Look, I know I might be going off the rails here, but wouldn't it be so tragically ironic if Greg actually did become as famous as he wanted, but it was only because of his death?
I always figured they'd make a movie about my life, but I didn't think they'd start the story here.
That's why they
That's a twisted joke, because he doesn't live long enough to become a...
adapted the diaries into movies. That's why he's always been stuck in middle school, and that is the real reason why his father decided to write a book series about him, to keep his memory alive. And look, it's okay if you're not fully on board yet, because I've still got some really big evidence. But before we get into that, I want to take a look at how I think the real Greg Heffley might have died. And just a warning, this will probably sound like a lot of random speculation at first, but I promise it'll all come together in the end. Going back to the movie that told us about Greg's fame and possible death, there's a scene where Roderick tells Greg and Rowley a scary story about a nearby forest called Devil Worshipper Woods.
There used to be this house. They had to tear it down because what happened there was so terrible. Two kids who were, I don't know, maybe in middle school. They trick-or-treated that house on Halloween night. But the house was full of devil worshippers.
Roderick tells them about a house that abducted children and cooked them in an oven, but that ultimately led to an accidental fire that burned down the house with everyone inside.
But they forgot to turn off the ovens, so the house burned down with everyone in it.
Now, this is obviously just a story Roderick is making up to scare Greg. They even go to the woods later and only see Fregley.
Goofy ass kid, man. I'd be pissed.
But what if there's a nugget of truth to this story? Because later, in Roderick Rules, we briefly see a newspaper that seems to be talking about some kind of fire.
To the fire about a half hour past the end of the summer street around 6 a.m. to extinguish hotspots. The department will monitor the area for another 24 hours. He said the cause of the fire is still being investigated according to blah 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 blah. That looks like it's in the woods, guys.
And in the books, there are several references to house fires, including an instance where Greg actually accidentally causes one in their home. There's also this insane deleted scene from the third movie where Manny ominously talks about an accident.
You threw Tingy away.
Well, it was an accident.
Tingy says you're going to have an accident.
Yeah, I see why they deleted that scene.
That was fucking creepy when you're a little kid. Yo, let me tell you right now, if I have ever a little kid and he come up to me on something like, oh, my best friend, my imaginary friend said this, and it's some creepy shit, oh, that kid's getting dropped off at the nearest orphanage. I don't care.
There are a lot
Not my
of
problem.
weird references to some kind of accident or house fire throughout the franchise. What if these are hints about how Greg actually died?
Yeah, it's a lot of foreshadowing so far, it seems like, if this is what we're going with.
If so, when and how did this happen? Well, here's my theory. In Roderick Rules, Roderick throws a party when their parents and Manny go out of town.
And don't have anybody over this weekend.
He tells Greg that he can join the party, but ends up locking him in the basement instead.
We need chairs from the basement.
Roderick, help! The door's closed!
Yeah, and it's staying closed. I don't need a middle schooler ruining my party.
Roderick!
Now, in the movie, Greg is able to escape and join the party, but in the books, Greg is trapped there all night, and he says that it was so cold that he practically froze to death. But the next day, he gets out and they quickly clean up before their parents come home. They even have to replace one of their doors, but they do finish in time.
See? Told you it'd work.
But look at what the diary says about their parents' reactions when they first get home. Mom and Dad's car rolled into the driveway right when we were tightening the last screw. You could tell they were pretty relieved the house hadn't burned down when they were away. Interesting. Another very specific reference to an accidental house fire. Again, that's weird, but obviously there was no actual fire.
But like it could easily be explained as like, obviously that's like a common saying, you know, the parents go away, they expect, you know, the kids to trash the house or accidentally set it on fire cooking, or, you know. Ugh. But it is weird though, because one time saying it, that's fine, but when there's like 30 comments about house fires throughout the series of these books and stuff like that, and even in the movies, it gets pretty weird.
You're cute. I got distracted. I know, but you were smiling. It was cute. Got me stopped. I was in the middle of a sentence and everything. Oh, love you.
Fire here. I mean, in every version of the story, there's a crazy party and Greg gets trapped in the basement, but the house never burns down. But what if it did? Remember, this diary, and by extension the movies based on them, are unreliable narrators.
So wait, are we still going with the theory that his father's writing these books? And it's kind of like the Peter situation where the whole family dies and like it's all in his head and he's like ignoring what happened, but he's leaving like hints to it and foreshadowing. That's why like Peter's always mean to Meg because he blames Meg for killing Stewie or whatever the situation is. Or I forgot what that theory is, but hopefully y'all see what I'm getting at.
Possibly written by a grieving father who wants to keep the memory of his son alive. So we don't know for sure what actually happened when Greg was locked in that basement all night. The basement that Frank has warned them to stay out of. The basement that Greg was practically freezing to death in with no source of warmth. Except, that's not entirely true, because we also know that the basement is the house's furnace room.
Oh, that just gave me chills. Whoo! That gave me chills. Like, this is all fictional, obviously. This is all book, but damn, this shit's unsettling.
So what if Greg tried to get warmer by messing with the furnace, but instead
set the house on fire?
He ended up accidentally starting a deadly house fire. Yes, I believe that Greg never actually left that basement, and everything after this page is a complete and total lie. Okay, that's a big claim, I know. And I did warn you, this would sound like a lot of random speculation, but I do actually have the evidence to back it up.
I was gonna say, a lot of it makes sense, but we still don't have the evidence to prove it. We need proof.
To start off, remember that newspaper that mentioned a fire? Well, Greg gets it as he's cleaning up the party. And it mentions the fire happening at 6 a.m. when Greg still would have been freezing in the basement. And also, look at what happens immediately after this page in the movie.
You are in so much trouble.
She's gonna kill both of us.
Greg and Roderick are unambiguously depicted as dead. This theory also explains why a lot of the death references also include Roderick.
She's gonna kill both of us.
We're dead.
Mom would kill us, and I am a dead man.
Since he would likely be a victim of the fire.
He died in the
house burned down with everyone in it.
Frank even describes the smell of Roderick's room as unidentifiable.
What is that smell? I can't even identify it.
But the real reason why I think this fire theory is so compelling is because of the very strange way that Frank starts to act when he gets home. Yes, that is correct. I am finally going to talk about the thing that has been all over TikTok for the past year.
Yo, I need to get on TikTok, man. I be missing some. Everybody always be telling me, yo, you seen this on TikTok? You seen that on TikTok? On TikTok? And I always gotta tell them, man, I'm not on TikTok. Like, I am. I got an account. I just made a video the other day. Link is in the description of my TikTok, actually. Might start posting there. But anyways, yeah, I need to get back on TikTok and actually scrolling and shit like that. Gotta get back into it, you know? Don't like doom scrolling. It's bad for you, but it keeps you in the loop, so.
The movie's depiction of Frank.
Guess who's the laugher now? Me! I'm the laugher! Ah! I knew that door had a lock on it, and everybody
I am far from the first person to notice this, but in the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies, Frank acts legitimately insane. To the point where it's kind of become a meme to joke about him being this serial killer guy that might have killed his family.
Hey, how about then, no video games and no television for the rest of the summer?
Dad, no!
I stopped laughing. I stopped.
Ha! Guess who's the laugher now? Me! I'm the laugher! I'm the laughingest laugher that ever laughed!
But the thing that's interesting to me that I haven't seen
Nah, his kid just be pissing him off. He said, fuck them kids, belt to ass.
anyone talk about is that Frank doesn't really start to act like this until after the Roderick Rules party, when he becomes extremely paranoid and starts to believe that something's wrong with the house.
So, who came over this weekend?
What?
Hey! What the?
You guys got something you want to tell me?
What was General Grant doing on the thermostat?
He acts this way in the books too, but in the movies, he really acts like he's losing his sanity over the little inconsistencies in the house.
I knew that door had a lock on it! And everybody was trying to make me feel like I was losing my mind!
This roller skating kid is really good. Don't you think that is good?
Oh,
What if
wow.
what we're actually seeing is Frank having some kind of mental breakdown because he couldn't handle the reality of coming home to find his house had burned down with both of his children inside?
What is that smell? I can't even identify it.
I think that Frank would be incapable of accepting this horrible truth, so instead, he's staying in denial and imagining that the fire never actually happened and that his children are still alive.
Deny, deny, deny.
Got it. Deny, deny, deny.
The reason
What? This got really sad and dark, man. I didn't think it was going to, but leave it to Alex Bale to do it.
why Frank is fixating on the little differences in his house, like the bathroom lock being different, is because in reality, he's actually already moved into an entirely new home after the fire. But he'd rather concoct a whole elaborate story about his children replacing the door than accept the truth.
I knew that door had a lock on it!
Deny, deny.
See, I don't think it's that. I mean, he's definitely, I think it's more, he's not that crazy. I think he's perceiving himself as that crazy because he realizes, he's like in that mindset of like, I need to get over it, but I can't. And instead of doing that, I'm using these books to escape my reality. He knows his kids are dead, right? He knows what happened. He's not denying it. It's not like that he's like in a schizo award, right? He's writing these books to the point where they made movies. A crazy person can't do, I mean, crazy people could do that, but like, he would be at this level of crazy where he wouldn't be able to function and write clear stories if he was that delusional. So it's, if anything, he's using the books and all this as a way to escape and let his kids live on instead of him in this more crazy sense. That's the only thing I don't agree with, because yes, he's definitely like not all there after losing his kids, but I don't think he's probably this crazy, and he's just, you know, thinks he's that crazy because you're hard on yourself. You know what I mean? He's probably, especially him being an older man like that, he's probably got that, you know, old school mentality of he's got to be tough through everything. So the fact that he's, you know, not able to handle this and is grieving, it makes him feel like he's going crazy.
I deny.
Also, remember that terrifying Manny deleted scene?
Tingy says you are going to have an accident.
This scene makes no sense in the context of this movie, but with this theory, it just fits so perfectly. This is a moment of truth sneaking into Frank's delusions. His subconscious is telling him about the accident, but he is completely unable to accept it.
The house burned down with everyone in it. Deny, deny, deny.
And I think that that is the real reason why Frank decided to create a diary pretending to be his son, Greg, so that he could continue to remain in denial about his death forever. I told you it would all click together. It's possible Greg did actually have his own diary at some point, and now Frank is just continuing it. But either way, I think that the books that we are reading are a strange denial fantasy that Frank is writing to cope with his son's death. This also gives a whole new meaning to why Frank is so protective over the basement in these books.
Nah, definitely.
The basement is where Frank works on his Civil War dioramas, and he's really strict about not wanting anyone to go down there. But maybe, even in his fantasy, Frank actually wants to keep his kids away from the basement that caused all of this. There's also this moment at the end of the Roderick Rules movie where Frank realizes his entire family is no longer sitting with him.
This roller skating kid is really good. Don't you think that is good?
And people like to joke about how Frank is realizing his entire family is dead or whatever, which doesn't exactly line up with my fire theory since Susan and Manny would still be alive. But if Frank has turned the loss of their children into a fictional best-selling franchise for money, then I could totally see Susan divorcing him and taking Manny. I mean, she was very much depicted as someone who believes in honesty.
You lied to me, and you know how I feel about that.
So I think this scene actually works really well with this theory.
His theory definitely makes sense for the most part, except for, again, how would he be able to be coherent enough to write those books and make those movies and all that stuff if he was crazy, like if he was genuinely believing this stuff. So it's either the movies aren't actually like canon in universe, like they're like movies within their universe about the book and all that, or he did that after he like cleared his head and like, you know, grieved and like came back to normal, I guess. I don't have a better way to put it right now.
Don't you think that
Whether or not you agree with every part of this theory, you have to admit there's a lot of really compelling connections here, and it offers us a very tragic new way to read these books. Nothing of what we see in these diaries is the full truth. It's a combination of both Frank's true memories of his son and fictional ones he's created to keep the lie going. We have to think of these books as more than just Frank and Greg. They're a weird amalgamation of them both. In a sense, these books are the story of Freg. Wait a second.
Who the hell is Freg?
Oh, what the fuck?
Fregley? Wait, what? Hold on.
Fregley has never felt like a real person. We never actually learn anything about him beyond the fact that he is this weird, inhuman, freaky kid who's always around.
Wanna see my secret freckle? I'll sign it, Greg Heffley, if you let me look at your infection.
What if that's because he was never actually real? He was always something made up for the diary. What if Fregley is actually a symbolic representation of both Frank and Greg? You have to admit that their canon full names, Franklin and Gregory, sound a whole lot like Fregley when combined, because he is a representation of the dark truth that Greg is actually dead and Frank is pretending to be him.
I've never heard of the name Fregley before.
It's why Fregley is depicted as this weird kind of disgusting kid, because deep down, Frank is disgusted with himself for what he is doing, and this disgust and shame manifests in the diaries as Fregley. It's why in both the books and the movies, Greg is mistaken for Fregley.
Hi, Ollie. Oh, hi, Fregley. You think I'm Fregley?
Why does Fregley have a secret language? Because Greg has a secret language. Why does Fregley want to show his secret freckle? Maybe because Greg also recently discovered a new freckle. And what does Fregley do in the town talent show? He's a ventriloquist speaking for his puppet.
Say hello to the boys and girls, Freggers. Hello, boys and girls.
Just like the way Frank speaks for Greg. And finally, remember the Devil Worshipper Wood story? This was the story that first hinted about Greg's accidental house fire. What does Greg actually find when he goes there?
Fregley.
Guys?
Fregley, because Fregley represents the dark truth in Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and that is my theory. Thank you very much, Zooey Mama.
Huh. Wow.
And that's the last time I'll ever do a they were dead the whole time theory ever again. None.
I don't believe that. Anyways, guys, holy crap, that was a phenomenal video. Always Alex Bale delivering. But hey, man, what did you think about this theory? Do you believe it? Do you have some parts that like some holes you're poking in like me? Let me know in the comments down below. Let me know what other videos you want me to react to. Any other conspiracies by Alex Bale, you know, you want me to react to. I'm definitely going to be reacting to that Cars conspiracy he released not too long ago. That is definitely in the reaction playlist. Don't worry, I got some other stuff cooking. Again, like I said in the intro, I apologize for being gone for a month, but I'm back. We're going to try to be consistent again, alright? Next video, we'll have a little update in the beginning of where I've been and what's been going on, if y'all care at all. But if this is your first video watch me, y'all probably don't. But either way, man, leave a like, subscribe, put on your post notifications, man. Do all the good stuff. Check out the links in my description to all my socials and all that stuff, whatever I put down there. And as always, guys, stay safe, stay snazzy, stay blessed.